So without losing much time, I invite our first speaker of the day, that is Dr. M.R. Ahmed. Dr. M.R. Ahmed is a thorough professional on correctional matter and is one of the few experts in the country in the field. He is nationally and internationally acclaimed for his philosophy on correctional matters and is invited by different countries for giving talk to their professionals. He has been director APCA and has been contributing a lot in the field of correctional administration. May I now request Dr. M.R. Ahmed to please express his views on the theme which has been allotted to him, that is prison reforms and alternatives to imprisonment. Dr. Ahmed, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your nice words. Distinguished moderator, distinguished president of the IPF, and distinguished speakers, all participants in this colloquium, my greetings to you all. It's my pleasure to speak on a few prison reforms. And in the given time of 20 minutes, it's very difficult to dwell on all prison reforms. But of late, I have been thoroughly convinced of one reform which our country has missed. And that is sentence planning. But before coming to sentence planning, I would present a small this thing on prison reforms. The PPT is gone. Anyway, yeah, the first and foremost is that we have been discussing, and the Mullah Committee has discussed about the need for certain major prison reforms. During the last 30 or 35 years, a lot has been done in this direction. Every state prison department have excelled in introducing a number of reforms. With the result, the prison system, which was literally primitive when I joined service in 1979, has reached to such an extent. Now, the present status in some of the states is very excellent. And the reforms we introduced are far and wide, and then accepted and then approved to be worthwhile. But while these reforms are already there, but one major thing which I would like to say is that there is no uniformity in the country as far as prison administration is concerned, and many states are going in their own direction. I mean, there has also been a request and a demand from every prison department in the state and all, especially the prison officers, to improve the service conditions. I think, and to make the prison service into a professional service, there is an urgent need to bring in prison, all India prison service. This is it's very necessary, and with the experience which I have put in for more than 40 years, I think the time has come that we should seriously think about making an all India service. Now, similarly, the most important aspect which I would like to state, the one reform which will cover number of reforms, and that is sentence planning, which our country has missed. In fact, I made a presentation, but within the 20 minutes, I think an elaborate presentation may not be possible, but I'll briefly explain what is sentence planning. Sentence planning is an individual way of treatment of prisoners, which way in our country we are not doing it. With my experience, I'll tell you that when a prisoner comes into our prison, a person is brought to our prison, we look into the sections under which he is charged, and if he is charged under serious sentence, we consider him as a serious criminal and dangerous criminal. And basing upon the vacancies available in the vocational centers, we allot to him. And the short-termers normally are not allotted any factory; they are used either as orderlies or kitchen workers, or simply put on ground to pick grass. I mean, because it's just not possible for providing meaningful vocational training or skill training to all the prisoners. Now, this vocational sentence planning, I'm very unhappy and surprised to see that our country has not realized this wonderful evidence-based concept, while our neighboring countries like Bangladesh has seriously taken this topic, and they have included in their Prisons and Correctional Services Act. To briefly explain what is sentence planning, it is a blueprint of what needs to be completed from the time of admission of a prisoner to the time of his release and reintegration. So it is day one till day last and then reintegration. And it identifies what the prisoner needs to do throughout their sentence and focuses on rehabilitation activities identified in the original classification assessment. Sentence planning focuses on the criminal and behavioral history, vulnerability, addictions, psychological status, educational level, health status, and work skills and experience, and set targets to meet individual needs and aim to reduce the identified risk. Now, what is the significance of this? It's an essential precondition. Sentence planning is an essential precondition for the correction of prisoners and to derive the evidence-based results. As you agree with me, it emphasizes the correctional treatment of prisoners. Therefore, prison authorities encourage the personal reform and social rehabilitation and help prisoners to lead law-abiding and self-supporting lives after the release. Now, it is designed to create optimal conditions for the resettlement and resocialization of convicted prisoners. The rehabilitation plan changes the behavior and prepares the prisoners for release while reducing the likelihood of his reoffending. Now, what does it contain? It has several steps. The first step is the risk assessment. Now, this topic of risk assessment classification has been discussed in various forms, but I see only 5 states are doing this aspect, risk assessment and classification and categorization of prisoners. Few states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, and Delhi, they have been implementing that. And that is the first step of sentence planning. Now, this risk assessment and classification is done through a committee known as classification committee. And so this classification committee consists of the superintendent, deputy superintendent, jailer, and doctor, etc., etc. So the first step, as soon as the prisoner is admitted, he is placed before a classification and security committee for initial classification and categorization in order to determine the risk and needs of the prisoners and to prepare them for their sentence planning and implementation process. A committee which shall include at least one female prison officer shall be formed in the manner which we prescribe once we decide. Classification refers to procedure of placement of prisoners in one of the several custody levels, that is maximum, medium, and minimum, to match prisoners' needs and correctional resources, which include the type of facility. Of course, in other countries, we don't have special facilities for dangerous and S1 category. Model Prison Manual has already brought out in chapter 25 several categories of high security, high risk offenders into S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. And this, I'm not sure that majority of states are implementing that. Now, the next stage, now there are several stages. Once the prison classification is done, then the needs of the prisoner are analyzed. So through interview and through the committee will find out the needs. And the risk analysis also will have a tool. The prisoner's need analysis will also have a tool. Once we come to know the needs of the prisoners, we check out a sentence plan. This is an individual plan. So we need the support of so many officers, like so many staff, like psychologists, counselors, and medical officers and others, probation officers and welfare officers. A case plan is made basing on the needs of the prisoner, and an officer will be allotted to monitor the progress of prisoner. And this is not meant only for those prisoners who are not, who are classified as low security or medium security. Sentence plan is applied to all prisoners. And in the case of S1, S2 categories, the only difference is that these prisoners will be lodged in special security enclosures. But nobody is born criminal. Everyone is amenable to reformation and rehabilitation. So therefore, by constant monitoring of the prisoner's progress and this skill development, and the skill will not be allotted, or trade will not be allotted haphazardly, basing on the prisoner's experience and his previous work experience and his knowledge, his educational level will be taken into consideration. And periodical reviews are conducted. And once he nears the completion of sentence, and a review is made, and at every level, the prisoner is helped to come out of his criminal behavior by moral instructions, by constant counseling, and by bringing contact with his family and also village elders and the religious leaders, etc. And finally, our community leaders are brought inside the prison. A plan is chalked out for his ultimate rehabilitation and reintegration. Now, I think we have been doing the reformation, rehabilitation in a very haphazard manner, and we do not have research studies to know that how many prisoners who are released, how many released prisoners are settling down. But one thing about Indian conditions is that in India, the family support is there. That is the reason why many lifers generally, they get assimilated into society and they normally don't come back. But in the case of property offenders and city bred criminals, etc., the recidivism rate is very high. I think we have to concentrate on the convicts who are likely to become recidivists, and that is where sentence planning comes into picture. Now, as far as under trial prisoners are concerned, the first step of the sentence planning, that is classification and categorization, equally applies to under trial prisoners also. So sentence planning, I feel it is high time we start discussing, and the plan needs to be formulated, and then officers need to be trained. And then I'm happy to see that many state governments are seriously discussing this concept, and I'm sure in the next few months or short time, the concept will be understood, and I'm sure the government of India also will include this in the proposed Indian Prisons Act also, as this is the basis for prisoners rehabilitation and reintegration. Now, next I will go to the alternatives, subject of alternatives, and here I would like to present I'm sure this is seen by the audience. Please confirm.
No, it is not visible, Dr. Ahmed. You can please just list out without making the presentation. You can just mention.
Okay, that will be fine. Okay, now the next topic given to me is alternatives to imprisonment, a topic which I think again we need to take seriously. Though we have certain alternatives in our criminal justice system, we haven't recognized the importance of that. Now, first of all, why do we need alternatives? Number one, indiscriminate use of imprisonment. If you look into the composition of prisoners, we find young offenders, mentally ill people, drug addicts, a number of them are sent to prison. Non-serious offenders and short-termers are kept in prisons in large numbers. And this is leading to a lot of overcrowding, and overcrowding, as you all know, leads to abuse of human rights and pressure on prison administration. And overcrowding also leads to high cost of maintenance of prisons. Shortage of resources for proper accommodation, healthcare, food, and to provide activities to prisoners, it also becomes a problem. Social damage due to stamping, loss of employment, employment prospects of prisoners, reduction in chances of social integration, and contamination due to association with criminals in prison. Now, there are a number of alternatives. And before that, I would like to just express my views that all over the world now criminologists have come to an understanding and they advocate that prison should be used as a last resort. And only on 3 grounds, people should be sent to prison. On number 1 ground, when the person is dangerous. Number 2, when he commits a heinous offense. Number 3, when there are certain offenders who are highly influenced, but their damage caused to society by them is much more serious than the other type of criminals. They are white-collar criminals. So they feel that under these 3 grounds only, people should be sent to jail. And these people are threat to the safety and security of the society. To protect society, people should be sent only on these 3 grounds. And if you take this idea, and if you look into our prison population, you will be astonished to see that majority of people are socially backward, poor, and come from marginal societies, involved in minor offenses, and the real dangerous and who are threat to safety and security of society are hardly 5 to 10%. This I am telling out of my personal experience, and I have been asking many prison officers their opinion, and they agree that the real dangerous type of people inside the jail constitute only 5 to 10% of prisoners. Now, let us see. Do prisoners reform? I don't think. Prisoners actually damage people. We think that by bringing a person from society where positive vibes prevail and bring him and put him in a jail where negative vibes prevail, and we think that the prisoner gets reformed, I think it's a tall order. So that is the reason why alternatives become very important, and we should seek that people who don't deserve to be kept in the jail should be punished outside the jail in a number of ways and socially accepted. Now, and one more important thing which I'd like to share is 10 years ago, about a decade ago, the prisons in Holland have become totally vacant. There was not even a single prison in the prisons of Holland, Netherlands. And the whole world was surprised. How can it happen? And it happened. It happened because the society, the elders, the prison officers, the police officers, the politicians, the administration, they all came together. They realized and they agreed that prison damages people, and therefore, unless the person is a threat to the safety and security of the society, he should be punished outside the jail. Of course, they devised a number of alternatives. Now, let me go straight away to the topic, alternatives to imprisonment. There are 3 stages here. One is the pre-trial stage, second is sentencing stage, and the post-judicial stage. Now, let us see. In the pre-trial stage, we have alternatives like diversion, fines, bail, release on personal bonds, house arrest, electronic monitoring. Now, I need not elaborate these things. The participants are aware, but at the end of the session, if anyone wants to ask, I can elaborate because time is not enough. Now, let me go to the sentencing stage. There are a number of alternatives, which in India, some of them are being implemented. Number 1, admonition and absolute discharge, oblique conditional discharge. Yes, restitution and compensation. Fine at the sentencing stage, fine is also there. Suspended sentence, probation, limitation of liberty, community service order, periodic detention. Now, here, I would like to stress on community service order. This is an highly successful alternative being implemented in almost all countries except very few countries. Now, this community service order in India of late, the judiciary started implementing in few cases on their own, even when there is no law available. First, the Supreme Court in BMW case, they have implemented. In Gujarat, for prohibition cases, they are implementing. In fact, one way of implementing is make a condition, one of the conditions for a probation order. But the Andhra Pradesh in 2010 passed an act, release of offenders and community service, 2010, that was sent to Government of India. It is still there pending with the Government of India. And this act prescribed community service for offenders who are sentenced to 1 year and below. I think it's a high time every state or the central government should brought out a legislation and community service order. This is very highly successful. Now going to post-judicial stage, we have alternatives like work release program, which we follow in many prisons, home leave, parole release, or leave in some places called pardon or executive summary. These are the alternatives, and I think that there is an urgent need to broaden the scope of alternatives, and the judiciary should be more liberal as far as alternatives are concerned. Sending juveniles and young offenders to jail is not a good step. Similarly, offenders who are not involved in serious cases should be invariably released unless he is reported to be a threat or has committed a heinous offense. So my sincere opinion is that it's a high time India seriously considers alternatives to imprisonment. And if time permits, I would like to dwell on community service for the.
I think, Dr. Ahmed, we can discuss it in the question answer session.
Okay, that's nice, and thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Good morning, KP.
Giving me this option. Thank you.
Good morning, KP.
Sir,
I think we can allow Dr. Ahmed to continue because I will be very brief. Let him eat into my time. So you can have 5 minutes. You can have 5 minutes, Doctor.
I'll take 5 minutes, sir.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I don't know. I'll be able to. I'm able to share or not. But I'll go ahead with my presentation. Now I'll stress on certain few things which we can do it. Number one is electronic monitor, which we have been not taking a serious thing. Electronic monitor is a viable and economical tool for non-custodial forms of supervision. It's in vogue in many developed countries. India has technologically, progressed like any other country. It's a high time we also start using this electronic monitoring. An anklet or a bracelet is worn by an offender who is not a serious offender, which is tied to a computer at home, which is or at a central location, which monitors the whereabouts of an offender. Now, of course, some disadvantages also there. Now, let me go to sentence this straight away to community service. It provides a method of dealing with non-serious offenders who would otherwise be sentenced to imprisonment. The principal objective is rehabilitation. It provides the offender opportunity to make a reparation to the community against which he has committed a crime by working for its benefit. Working for the community will have positive effect on the future attitudes and conduct of the offender. Community service order is less costly than the custodial measure. It costs little to administer and also inexpensive in terms of human and social cost. It avoids expenses of providing food, clothing, shelter, medical care, and necessities in prisons. It releases pressure on prison system by reducing prison population. It enables the offender to live with their families, thereby maintaining family ties. This is most important advantage. It saves the offender from the harmful effects of prisonization. This is again another very serious benefit. And the offender will not face any re-entry crisis, and he will not suffer great changes in employment, family situation that go with imprisonment. This is a great benefit. The community will benefit through the work performed by the offender. Andhra Pradesh already, as I said, they have already done it. Now, there are also a variation of like community attendance centers also. Now, there is a very interesting alternative followed in many countries like New Zealand, periodic detention. This, of course, we have not come across in India. Periodic detention is adopted in some countries for the purpose of preserving the community life of the offender by full execution of short-term imprisonment. Short-termers who are sentenced to periodic sentence may be required to undergo imprisonment during night times, as decided by the court. They will attend to their employment from Monday till Friday evening. Friday evening, they will report to the jail, and till the Monday morning, they will be in the jail. Now, this is called periodic. It can also take form of weekend detention in some cases. And this is another one, status penalties in some short-term offenses. You can always punish him by taking away the rights to seek public office or vote, right to drive a car, etc. They may be ordered by a sentencing judge in a non-custodial measure and can be combined with other measures like fine, may be limited or unlimited in time. The main advantage of lies the offender keeping his job and looking after the family. Likewise, it helps protect community. Now, I can go on giving the benefits of these alternatives. I think I'll stop here and then extend my thanks for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for your very enlightening and concise overview of police reforms and alternatives to imprisonment, especially the sentence planning. And the suggestion of your alternatives will go a long way to generate thoughts and discussions among the community of correctional administrators in a big way. Thank you very much once again. And you have made a very good beginning, and good beginning is half done. Thank you very much once again.